Well, hello and welcome to the first video for the Grimm's Tales Crochet Along for the Bizzy Crochet 2019 Spring Crochet Along. I am going to get started with the center square, which is going to involve the door and the stone wall. We are going to be working with, or I am going to be working with, I Love This Yarn, which is a Hobby Lobby brand. I'm going to be using both their regular and their stone wash. The reason I'm using the stone wash is because it has a little bit of a color variance and flecking in it that is going to give me kind of that stone look that I'm going for. I did want to also show you that I'm going to be using 3 different browns for the blanket. The reason being is because for the door I wanted to have a slightly browner contrast so that it felt more like a door. I'm going to be using this lighter brown for the tree section and basket section, and then the darker brown is going to also be part of the tree section. The lighter brown is light taupe and the dark is coffee, and once again this is toasted almond. So if you also want to get the same color in the stone wash, this is dark gray. Okay, I am going to be using a number 7 4.5 millimeter. I also recommend for this pattern having a small selection of stitch markers. As we get into the pattern, you'll find that it will be helpful during your counting. I've already put a slip stitch onto my toasted almond. I'm going to go ahead and start with a chain 25. Okay, I've got my 25 chained, and I tried not to do it too tight. Make sure that your chain is fairly loose because you don't want it to buckle when you start working in it. I'm going to turn my work, and I'm going to work into the back loop. Do you see where that back bump is right there? That's where I'm going to go in. So not this first one, but the second one away from the hook. And I'm going to put 2 in there. The remainder of them, I'm going to put 1. So when you end with this beginning chain, you should have a total of 25 stitches on here. All right, I'm working in the last couple of the end of this chain. Okay, this is what you should look like. We're going to chain 1. We're going to turn our work so that we're working in the opposite direction. I'll do that again, just in case this is the first time you've done it. Turn your work, okay? Now we are going to be working in the back loops only. So when you're looking at the top of a single crochet stitch, there's going to be front loop and back loop. We are going to start in this stitch, which is immediately next to the hook, and we're going to go into the back loop and single crochet. We're going to do that in each of the stitches across, working only in the back loop for this row. Okay, on this other end, in the last 3 stitches, I'm going to do 1, and then another, and then here we have the last stitch. We are going to put 2 into that back loop. So 1 and 2. All right, so this is going to be the right side of our work. Do you see how there's that little ridge there? This is going to be the texture on the front of your door. So if it's helpful to you, if the ridge isn't quite enough, you can always take a stitch marker and just throw one on so that you can visibly see, without having to really think about it, which side is your front side, okay? So we're going to chain 1 and we're going to turn our work again. We are going to, in both loops now, So you're going to have to pay attention to the door pattern because only every other row are we going to be doing this ridge. So when we're going back down to the bottom of our door, because this is going to be the top of our door, when we're going back down to the bottom of our door, we're always going to have just both loops because we want it to be flat. When we're going up to the top of our door, we're going to be working on our ridge. All right, so we'll do a couple of these. Hopefully that'll help solidify it for you. Okay, we're going to go through both loops of our single crochet, 2 in the first one, and then 1 in the remaining 27 stitches after this row. And so remember, we're at the bottom of the door, so we don't double at the bottom because we want a nice straight bottom. Chain 1 and turn. And then if you need to, take a minute and count each one of your single crochets to make sure you've got 27. Now remember, we're going back up the door to the top, so we're going to be working in the back loop only. We're going to put a single stitch here, and we're going to work in the back loop only until the very last stitch of this row, and then we're going to put 2 in the last stitch of this row again. Okay, I've reached the end of this. Moves along pretty quick when you don't have very many stitches that you're working in. Okay, I do want to take a pause here and talk real quick. I'm just chaining 1 right away to be ready for the next turn to talk about the pattern, because in the pattern we are working on the section that says 4 through 9. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this little marker because this is row 1, this is row 2, this is row 3, this is row 4. I'm actually going to stick this around the loops on row 4. The reason I'm doing this is because we're doing a series of repeats through rows 4 and through rows 4 and 9. So we're going to repeat rows 2 and 3, which are these two here, and we're going to do that a total of 3 times. This, having this here, is just a helpful visual reminder that when I'm counting my rows, this is row 4, and I can just start counting from there. I don't have to go all the way back to the beginning. All right, so we're going to do the same thing, turn our work, working in both loops because we're going down the door. We're going to put 2 single crochet in the first and a single crochet into the remaining stitches on this row. And I'm just going to show you how I handle working around the stitch marker that I placed in there, because I put the stitch marker in the front loops, you know, just the front part of the single crochet and not through the working loops of the single crochet. That enables me to just continue to work on this row without ever worrying about catching that stitch marker in my work or it possibly getting in my way, because I just cruised right past it. All right, hopefully that's a helpful tip for you. Okay, we're almost done here. Last stitch and chain 1 and turn. So we're going back up the door. Do you see how it's beginning to form the curve of the top of the door? We're working in back loops only again. So back loop only. And then you'll put 2 at the end of this row. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we've done rows 4 and 5. You're going to do 6, 7, 8, and 9 in the same kind of pattern that we've done here. I'll meet you back on here when we are on row 9, which will actually end us down here at the bottom of the door. All right, so I have gotten to the end of row 9, which has put me down at the bottom of the door, and you can kind of see how the trajectory of the door is pretty extreme at this point. So what we're going to be starting to work on right now is to kind of round that off a little bit more and make the door more this way. So we're going to be changing what we're doing just a little bit. Round 10, not round 10, but row 10, which is what we're going to be starting on right now, is chain 1 and turn. We're still going to work in the back loops, And we're going to actually repeat row 2, which is putting 2 single crochets at the end of this row like we've been doing. However, when we start row 11, we are not going to be doubling at the end or the beginning of that row, because we're going to start making a slightly less dramatic curve. So let me quick finish this up and I'll meet you back. I finished round, or I keep calling them rounds, row 10 with the double single crochet in the end. Like, now we're going to turn. This time we are only going to put 1 single crochet through both loops all the way down. All right, row 11 brings us back down to the bottom. Now we're looking at the pattern. Rows 12 through 19 are going to be treated kind of like when we did rows 4 through 9. So I'm going to quick throw some stitches in here because this is the back loop only row. But the reason that I'm throwing some in here is because I want to quick move my marker from back here and put it in the front loops of this one, because this is row 12, okay? Now 12 is gonna remain the same like row 10. So row 10, all your even rows are gonna be going up and you're gonna be doubling them. Your odd rows are gonna be coming down and you're not gonna be doubling them at this end, okay? So the reason I did this is I marked 12 so that when I come back to count, 12 through 19, I can start here instead of obviously going all the way back to the beginning. So just pay attention to what you're doing. When you're going up, you're doubling. When you're coming down, you're doing 1 single row. Okay, done with row 19. So if you go back here, we've got 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. That's why I put this guy here so I don't have to start all the way back at the end. All right, so we're gonna move on to row 20. As usual, we are gonna chain 1. We're gonna start in the back loop only. I actually started this row. And we're gonna, on this, we are changing the pattern again. So instead of back loop only and then putting 2 single crochets at the end of the row, we are going to just do 1 single crochet in each stitch, because we're not looking to increase this anymore. We have basically, this is the height of our door here. So now we're gonna work a little small flat patch across the top, and then we'll start working down again. All right, so we're gonna do a few rows though to establish the top of the door. All right, I'll meet you back up on this end here. All right, so here I am at the last stitch of row 20. I'm just going to put a single in there. I'm gonna chain 1 and turn. And now I'm just gonna put a single into both loops, going back down the door. Now this is going to be row 21. After this, you are going to do row 22 and 23. You're just gonna repeat rows 20 and 21 one time. All right. So I will meet you back at the bottom here at the end of row 23. All right, so I've got round 23 done, or row 23 done. And see how across the top of the door, we are no longer going up, but we're starting to curve. And now we're gonna actually start working on the down curve on the opposite side. All right, so this is row 24. Chain 1, turn, and in the back loop. So we're going to do back loop only until we get up to the end. Now on this row, when we get up here, we're not going to increase, which is what you're doing when you're putting the 2 in there. We're going to decrease. So we're going to be bringing these 2 last stitches together to make 1. I'm at the end of row 24, so I'm going to do the decrease. It's going to be treated just like any other single crochet decrease. You're just going to be doing it the back loop only. Okay, so that's what it'll look like. And you'll chain 1 and turn. Now you are going to, on row 25, you're not going to be decreasing. You'll just be doing in both loops the single crochet down to the other side. So rows 26 through 33 are going to be a repeat of what we're doing here on 24 and 25. So when you get down to the other end, you'll want to move your marker after you have a few stitches on row 26 so that you can count from 26 to 33 without having to start all over. And you'll follow the same pattern where when you're going up the door with the back loop only, you decrease when you hit the top of the door, and when you're coming back down the door and you're doing both loops, you're going to just single crochet in every stitch. All right, I'll go ahead and stay with you to the start of row 26 since we're almost there anyway. Okay, last one, and chain 1 and turn. Okay, so I'm gonna actually take this bad boy off, move it over real quick, because I'm gonna wanna bring it up here to row 26. Back loop only. And I'm just throwing in a few stitches so I've got enough space to put my marker in. Okay, now that I have my marker in place on row 26, when I get up here, I'm going to be decreasing, and then I'm going to chain 1, turn, and come back down like normal. So each time you hit the top until you reach row 32, I believe it is, because you're going rows 26 through 33. You're going to be repeating the decrease and single crochet rows, okay? I'll meet you after row 33 and we'll do the last couple rows together. Right, I'm at the end of row 33 and our door is really starting to shape up now. It is normal for things to roll like that, so don't be concerned with that. It even happens to me. We are going to start working on row 34 now. And with row 34, we are going to continue the same on the even rows. We're going to be decreasing, but now we're going to add an extra decrease in here too. So chain 1 and turn like normal. We're on row 34. And if you're checking your counting, you should have ended row 33 with 33 stitches. Okay, last 2 stitches of round 34, we are decreasing. Okay, we're going to chain 1, we're going to turn. Now in both loops, we are going to do another single crochet decrease up here at the top. And then we will treat this like a normal odd row, and through both loops, single crochet down to the flat bottom. Okay, so got to the end of row 35, which establishes the pattern that we're going to be following for the last rows of the door. I started on row 36 just to be able to move my marker down. Okay, so this is row 36 here. So 37, 38, 39, 40, and 41 are going to be the exact same thing, where we're going to be crocheting up to this end, doing a decrease, turning, coming back, doing a decrease, and then single crocheting down. Okay, so we are basically going back down the other side of the door over here. We are going to end on row 41, but don't cut it when you get there. I'll join you back at the end of row 41 and we'll finish this up. Okay, I've at the end of row 41, and if you have 2, you should have 25 stitches along row 41 on the end here. So we're not going to cut off our brown because we're going to use it to actually work the border on our door to give it more of a door feel and a cleaner edge when we're going to apply it to our stone wall that we're going to make next. So the first thing that we're going to do is go ahead and chain your 1 and turn your work so that you have the front facing you. And then what we're going to do is we are going to slip stitch into the first 25 stitches. So basically all of row 41. And a slip stitch is just putting your hook in and pulling it through. It kind of finishes off that edge. See the difference between the two? Without adding any bulk to the row at all. Don't do it super, super tight or you'll get bunching. Just keep it nice and loose and even. And by loose, I just mean comfortable. I don't mean, you know, large loops. As you can see, I'm not really leaving a whole lot of evidence that I've been there. I just am creating a nice, pretty edge. Okay, almost done here. And that's the last single crochet of row 41. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna start working in the row ends, going up and around here. We're gonna single crochet in each row end across the top. So don't chain 1 or anything. This is the single crochet, here is the row end. So you're gonna need a total of 41 stitches going across the top here. You want one for the end of every row. And I'll show you how to start. So they look kind of funky when they're the single crochet decrease ends as opposed to when they're the increase ends. The increase ends are prettier. But it's this kind of doubly wad here, and then I will skip ahead. Sometimes I'll just stick it, like, because this is the next row, but I don't want it right on top of each other, so I'll go that end and that end. However you make it work so that you are getting one in every row end without it, you know, because you don't want it to pucker, you don't want it to bunch up, you don't want to have huge gaps. What you're doing is trying to create a nice border so that when you apply this to the stone wall, it has a nice clean edge to it. So you go ahead and keep on. See how that just kind of cleans up that edge? Alrighty, so I will meet you back over, well, if you want to just keep on going, it's going to be 40 up and around. You're going to slip stitch down the 25 stitches here. You're going to turn 90 degrees and you're going to work one single crochet in each row end. Once again, it'll be 41. And then when you get over here, you just slip stitch to join, and I'll meet you back over here so we'll finish it off together. I'm finishing up across the bottom and I'm going to slip stitch to my first slip stitch. Okay, it doesn't want to go in there, so we're just going to keep twisting it until we get it. There we go. Okay, so in your slip stitch, finish off that end. Don't worry about the curling because all of that's really not going to be a problem once we go to apply this to the stone wall. However, what I want you to do when you do cut your yarn here is give yourself, you know, a couple of lengths here, because you're going to use this to apply it to the stone wall. All right, and there we have the base of our door. Okay. Next up is going to be the door handle and the door hinges.